In the dark shadows, in the white cold, fearlessly we search for knowledge new and old. We drink the strong spirits and read ancient tomes, the order of the Abercast. We are the brave and bold.
The Ages begins with the shocking story of Cain and Abel and the journey of violence and revenge spanning thousands of years, following Cain through his cursed life from an ancient invasion of malicious angels to the American Revolutionary War. A masterful, compelling journey through time, The Ages delves deep into arcane knowledge, myth, and legend. The art is stunning, and the story takes you on a journey where mortals, immortals, angels, and demons are all forced to deal with the folly that is God's creation. It's a beautifully dark and gritty ride through history. This 4-part story follows the astrological procession of the ages and how each 2,500-year age parallels major changes in the development of Earth's inhabitants. Cain's blasphemous struggle with the divine and sacred tyrant God will create and crumble empires, shape history, and cause a cosmic cataclysm.
This book contains a record of a magical experiment relating to the invocation of an elemental and thereafter of a goddess of force called Babalon, and the result thereof. An appendix contains some details of the method published for the first time. The contents should be clear enough for those who are prepared for understanding, and a little study and effort should make it so for those who desire understanding. For the rest, each will no doubt interpret it in accord with their own predilections. A note on the underlying philosophy. The present age is under the influence of the force called, in magic terminology, Horus. This force relates to fire, Mars, and the sun. That is, to power, violence, and energy. It also relates to a child being innocent, i.e. undifferentiated. Its manifestations may be noted in the destruction of old institutions and ideas, the discovery and liberation of new energies, and the trend towards power, governments, war, homosexuality, infantilism, and schizophrenia. This force is completely blind, depending upon the men and women in whom it manifests and who guide it. Obviously, its guidance now tends towards catastrophe. The catastrophic trend is due to our lack of understanding of our own natures, the hidden lusts, fears, and hatreds resulting from the warping of the love urge which underlie the nature of all Western peoples have taken homicidal and suicidal directions. This impasse is broken by the incarnation of another sort of force called Babalon. The nature of this force relates to love, understanding, and Dionysian freedom, and is the necessary counterbalance or correspondence of this manifestation of Horus. It is indicated that this force is actually incarnate in some living woman as the result of this described magical operation. A more basic matter, however, is the indication that this force is incarnate in all men and women and need only be evoked to free the spirit from the debris of the old Aeon, and to direct the blind force of Horus into constructive channels of understanding and love. These methods of this invocation are described in this text. The background of this material may be found in the Book of the Law, the comment thereon, and other writings of Aleister Crowley. Also in various magical, anthropological, psychological, and philosophical texts. These are all necessary to an understanding and the use of the material. One further point. It should be remembered that all human activities after the vital functions are fulfilled arise from a need to love or to be loved. It is therefore quite literally true that in understandings, i.e., that which embraces all categories of love, is all power given. A grasp of the principle of bipolarity should make this clear. With this crude, rudimentary philosophical discourse, then, I present the Book of Babalon. It was an introduction to the Book of Babalon, January 4th through March 4th, 1946, written by Jack Parsons. Hollywood, Babalon. Hollywood, Babalon.
The Abracast. Occult. History. Conspiracy. Violence.
All right, everybody, I'm your home slice, John. This is Abracast. Sorry, we got a wild one tonight. Oh, yeah, it's a wild one. Before I get started, I'd just like to say, watch out for Revenge in a Saloon Called Hell. It's coming up. It's all done. I'm just waiting for this purchase point to be set up. It's an open love letter to Sergio Leone style spaghetti westerns. It's about this guy who feels that he's been wronged by the Archangel Uriel and this demon lord Nizaro, and he figures out a way to get to hell to exact his vengeance upon thee. Next up is the Brass City. It's what happens when you send a World War II era warbot to confront terrorist stronghold in the modern Middle East. I gotta come up with a better synopsis than that. All right, there's great ways to support the show. If you would like to do that, I would like you to do that. You can write a review on iTunes. That's free. That only takes you a couple seconds. You're probably already on there downloading shows anyways. You buy comic books. That's not free, but that's the best way to do it. StigmataStudios.com. Or you can just do a shout out on social media, or go to StigmataStudios.com and find my all the links to my Instagrams and stuff. It's usually Stigmata Studios will get you where you need to go. Reach out to me, bullshit around with me for a little bit, whatever. Tell your friends. Chances are you're listening to a show like this, you probably know at least one other weirdo that would like the show, so clue them in on it. I also like to give a shout out to myself for figuring out what was wrong with the soundboard and get the issues ironed out there. Ironed out. It's pretty good. All right, look, I'm not going to say a whole lot about this NFL thing. It's killing me. I got to address it a little bit, though. I'm not much of a football fan. I do live in Pittsburgh, and when I say that, everyone's like, oh my God, it's another Steelers fan. Look, I don't give a fuck about that, even though it's how I made a living for a large portion of my life. I think people are really oversimplifying all the moving parts here. First of all, as a soldier, I pledged an oath to defend the Constitution, so I'm all for free speech. But these fucking punks are at work. Say I was in corporate America, I was sitting in my cube, and I just start writing a bunch of wild shit on this whatever corporation's letterhead or with their email address, and start sending shit out, wild shit, whatever. Not illegal stuff, just wild stuff that the company doesn't want to have anything to do with. Maybe it's bad taste, but it's legal. So should the company be okay with it just because it's legal, or just because it's not breaking any law? Like, there's a branding problem here, really. That's what we're talking about, isn't it? I know it's different, but here's how it's different. Number one, the NFL was tax exempt until 2015. That's 95 years. The fucking National Football League had tax exempt status. Let's put that into consideration. Number two, the Pentagon actually paid sports teams millions of dollars to do patriotic pregame ceremonies. So let's also consider that. Number three, the NFL is basically supported by taxpayers. I'm not talking about people buying tickets or taxpayers. I mean, there's taxes involved in that, but I'm talking about these fucking stadiums are being paid for. In my town, Pittsburgh, like I said, half of it, just one of these fucking stadiums, actually it's going to be wind up more than being half of it, and yearly taxes are paid for by the people of Pittsburgh, even though we voted against it twice. So yeah, on your own time, kneel, do jumping jacks, raise your fist, talk whatever bullshit you want, but when you're on the clock, stand there and shut the fuck up. There's a new poll. Over 60% of the American people agree with me. They agree with me. I mean, they're not like, do you agree with John Towers? But that's what they're saying. Like, either make it a thing where no one's out there, or everyone just stand there. Because I'll tell you what, people that go to these fucking football games, they don't want to get a deep look inside your fucking whatever social justice, what's it called? I can't even remember. Where you're virtue signaling. No one wants that shit. They want to watch you fucking play football, and you're fucking lucky to be doing it. So shut the fuck up, get on your goddamn feet, look at the fucking flag, and keep your mouth shut. Pittsburgh is into just Heinz Field, by the way, over $170 million. It's fucking ridiculous. All right, so they're into the rant. Hopefully that wasn't too bad for you guys. I should have said to skip ahead or whatever. Whatever. Let's see. It's 11 minutes 35. 11:35. Maybe I'll put something in the show notes. I know this is a hot button topic for all you fucking millennials and all this. All right. All right. So last week's show was a fun one. I did 2.5 hours, almost 3 hours of Clinton crime stories, and I still had to wind up skipping a bunch of stuff. Maybe someday we'll go ahead and revisit that. I know at one point in time I had on my calendar to do a Benghazi story, but for whatever reason I passed on it. I'm not sure if that's a Clinton story, and I don't know, whatever. It depends on how I frame it up, I suppose. But this week I got a good one cooking. Good one. This is going to link into episode 48, which is the Age of Aquarius / the Aeon of Horus. It's going to link deeply into that. You can tell by the cold open. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the Babalon working. So how is it that I know about this Babalon working? I'm not exactly sure. They touch on parts of it in that the last of the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen books, not the Nemo ones, but the It's called Century. Yeah, so they talk a little bit about the Moonchild and all that stuff there, but they have a guy standing in for Crowley is the main Oliver Haddo. They have that guy. We're going to be talking about somebody different, and we're going to get into it. We're going to get into it right fucking now. We're getting in right in there, elbow deep. Right, just yep. All right, so we need to familiarize ourselves with some people and some concepts as we get into this thing. To you know what we're doing. We're adding context to this story. So the first person we got to talk about is Aleister Crowley, Mr. Crowley. He's known as the Beast. He's known as the most wicked man in the world. He was a magician, a writer, a poet, an adventurer, a drug fiend. He is the prophet of the Aeon of Horus. He is the head of the Ordo Templi Orientis, or the Temple of the Eastern Star, and he's a creator. We'll put that in quotes. He's the creator of the religion of Thelema. You're like, Thelema, what the fuck is that? You remember Manson's first album, Portrait of American Family? Remember the song Misery Machine? Where he's talking about being a car? He's like, my arms are wheels, my legs are wheels, my blood is pavement, pavement, pavement. You got to ride to the Abbey of Thelema, to the Abbey of Thelema. Oh, that's what he's talking about. We're talking about Thelema. It's a spiritual philosophy derived from Western esotericism. The principle underlying Thelema is the law. You know, the law. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Crowley received the book of the law from an entity named Iowas. It's 3 chapters long, and it's the foundation of Thelema. Okay, the next thing we got to talk about briefly, a little introductory pass, is the OTO, the Ordo Templi Orientis. It's a religious and fraternal order organized around the law of Thelema and the book of the law. It's a big deal. This book of the law is a big deal, everybody. P.S. Shout out to Pittsburgh's OTO organization, the Golden Thread Camp. I actually went to go watch to take part in a Gnostic mass there a few weeks ago. I was there and I left before it got started. All right, number 4, L. Ron Hubbard. I know. I could just hear all of your eyes roll right out of your fucking heads. This was before Scientology. This was actually even before Dianetics. He was just an adventurer and a sci-fi writer with a little jaunty captain's hat on at the time. But he was a witness in this... actually, he wasn't a witness. Well, he was a witness, but he was also a magical partner. He was a participant in the Babalon working. And I think it's the last guy. Yeah, it's the last guy we got to talk about. Is Jack Parsons. He looks just like Iron Man's dad from the first Captain America movie. I swear that's who they patterned this guy after. Jack Parsons, he's a rich guy. He's got a mansion. He's a womanizer. He's probably bisexual. He's a drug addict, a magician, a poet, a brilliant chemist, and the father of American rocketry. You hear a lot of shit, especially nowadays, about Werner von Braun. He gets a lot of play because Nazis are sexy, I guess, and this whole Operation Paperclip thing is like every fucking where. But Jack was the founder of the Jet Propulsion's lab, and he was one of the guys that developed solid fuel rocket engines. He was also a Thelemite and the master of the Iguipe OTO Lodge there in California. So those are not, I'm not attempting to write biographies of these guys or like in-depth descriptions of these concepts or whatever. I just need to give you guys a taste of what's up, just a little taste of what's going on, so I can finish telling the story, right? Just a few bits of data you'll need to get into this story. So, we're going to, actually I should have probably mentioned Liber 49. Jack Parsons wrote Liber 49, which he actually considered chapter 4 of the Book of the Law, which was written in 1904 by Crowley. He thought this book was a transmission from an entity or the goddess called Babalon. So the Babalon working is a series of magical ceremonies performed from January through March of 1946 by Parsons and Hubbard. Started in the Mojave Desert, and I can tell you, man, the Mojave Desert is breathtaking. The purpose of the working was to manifest an individual incarnation of the divine feminine called Babalon. It was partially inspired by Crowley's novel, I think from the 70s, called Moonchild. So what he did is he started with John Dee's Enochian language, and this was the language that I guess they named after Enoch. And Enoch was, oh my God, let's not get into it. He was an antediluvian patriarch who was taken to heaven without dying, and he actually got transformed into the archangel Metatron, which is the most powerful of all of the archangels. And if you want to know more about Enoch and the archangels, just buy some comic books, because he's all over the place with comic books, and he's never good news. It's never good news. I would suggest probably the Jin Jihad. You can. I don't want to say too much. Parsons was all in with Crowley in this Aeon of Horus business, and you kind of. You kind of understand it. I guess I kind of understand it. When you look at the world that they were living in 1946, like, the power of the atom was just let loose on Japan. Change was coming. The war was over. And this was all of the things, this was a lot of the things that they talked about with this Aeon of Horus. So, a lot of this, some of this Liber 49, the Book of Babalon stuff, is him, and he's talking about like him getting ready, like the things that he needs to get ready, and the things, like also the things that happened to him. It's kind of like, it's like a half of a recipe book. There's like a part of a recipe book, and then like it's part journal. And then it's part like wild, like heavy metal spell, like goddess spell casting. So here we go. This is section A. It's entitled Conception. In January 1946, I had been engaged in the study and practice of magic for 7 years, and in supervision and operation of an occult lodge for 4 years, having been initiated into the sanctuary of Gnosis by the Beast 666, Frater 132, and Frater Saturnus. At this time, I decided upon a magical operation designed to obtain the assistance of an elemental mate. This is a well-known procedure in magic. See Chapter 8 in Magic in Theory and Practice, which is by Crowley, consisting of the invocation of the spirit or elemental into tangible existence by various magical techniques. I decided upon the use of Enochian tablets obtained by Dr. D and Edward Kelly, employing the star n square of the air tablet. The technique was approximately as follows. January 4th, 1946, 9 p.m. Prepared and consecrated air dagger. The other magical weapons were previously prepared. This dagger served as the special talisman of the operation. Remember, he's using this air tablet. So when he's saying that he consecrated the air dagger, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a dagger made of air. It's just a dagger that has like the element of air stuck to it. Prepared Enochian air tablet on virgin parchment. Prepared parchment talisman. Ritual as follows. A. Invoking pentagram of air. B. Invocation of bornless one. C. Conjuration of air. D. Consecration of air dagger. E. Key call of third air with an A-I-R-E with an E. F. Invocation of God and King of Air with an E. G. Invocation of six seniors. H. Invocation of RZDA by NNN and EXARP to visible appearance. Invocation of wand with material basis on talisman. Invocation with dagger. K. License to depart, purification, and banishing. I followed this procedure for 11 days, from January 4th to the 15th. From following entries in my record, January 5th, a strong windstorm beginning suddenly about the middle of the first invocation. January 6th, invoked as before. Windstorm continued intermittently all day and night. January 7th, invoked twice. Wind subsided. Used Profkov violin concerto number 2 as musical background. January 8th, invoked twice using blood. January 9th, invoked twice, replenishing material basis. January 10th, invoked twice. I retired about 11 p.m. and was awakened at 12 p.m. by 9 strong, rapid knocks. A table lamp in the opposite corner of the room was thrown violently to the floor and broken. There was no window in this corner, and no wind was blowing at the time. Note, I have very little experience with phenomenon of this sort. Magically speaking, it usually represents breaks in the operation, indicting imperfect technique. Actually, in any magical operation, there should be no phenomenon but the willed result. Evoked January 11th, evoked twice using blood. January 12th, evoked twice, a heavy windstorm. January 13th, evoked twice, windstorm continued. January 14th, I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh. January 14th, the light system of the house failed at 9 p.m. Another magician who had been staying in the house and studying with me was carrying a candle across the kitchen. He was struck strongly on the right shoulder, and the candle knocked out of his hand. He called us, and we observed a brownish-yellow light about 7 feet high in the kitchen. I banished with a magical sword, and it disappeared. His right arm was paralyzed for the rest of the night. January 15th, I evoked twice. At this time, the scribe developed some sort of astral vision, describing in detail an old enemy of mine, of whom he had never heard, and later the guardian form of Isis and the Archangel Michael. Later in my room, I heard the raps again, and the buzzing metallic voice crying, "Let me go free." I felt a great pressure and tension in the house that night, which was noticed by other occupants. There was no other phenomenon, and I admit a feeling of disappointment. The feeling of tension and unease continued for 4 days. Then, on January 18th at sunset, while the scribe and I were on the Mojave Desert, the feeling of tension suddenly snapped, and I turned to him and said, "It is done," in absolute certainty that this operation was accomplished. And I returned home and found a young woman answering the requirements waiting for me. She is describable as an air of fire type, with bronze red hair, fiery and subtle, determined, obstinate, sincere, and perverse, with an extraordinary personality, talent, and intelligence. During the period of January 19th to February 27th, I invoked the goddess Babalon with the aid of my magical partner, as was proper to one of my grade. All right, so after this first series of this working was complete, Hubbard and Parsons met Marjorie Cameron, who was like tall, hot, weird, red hair, and she was actually into it. These guys were like, "Oh wait, we think that you're an elemental, or you're a goddess named Babalon, the Scarlet Woman, and you've come here to help us, bring forth and summon the Moonchild." And she was about it. I mean, I think that she was probably initiated into it at this point in time, because the only other thing that I know about her is that she was like a Navy lady. Like, she volunteered for the Navy in World War II. So, I don't know what she was doing at his mansion where he met her or whatever. Like, the mansion was kind of like a bohemian pad. Like, a lot of people were hanging around doing a lot of weird stuff at the time. He was like the head dude, the master of this Aguape chapter or temple of the OTO. He was like the head dude, and he was also he was wrapped up with this weird science fiction writers club. This is where he met Hubbard in the first place, but he used to hang out with Heinlein and stuff. Imagine how weird that would be. And they were all swingers. They were all fucking, and there was this weird thing. He was married to a woman named Helen Parsons. Jack Parsons was married to a woman named Helen. I think her name was Helen, but Hubbard actually wound up stealing her from Jack Parsons and making off with a bunch of his money and then running to Florida to steal a bunch of boats and stuff. It's really weird. Anyhow, like I said, I'm not trying to get into a biography of these guys. I'm just trying to explain how chaotic and stuff this environment was. And on top of that, he would do this, and I think it's in the Book of the Law. I think it is in the Book of the Law. I'm not sure, but they do the Ordo Templi Orientis, the Thelemites do a Gnostic Mass, which is when I went up to the Gold Thread to check out, but I left before they got started. It's a whole fucking story. Anyhow, but they would do this in this mansion every night. So there's a lot of weird stuff, and you can read from the journal portion of Liber 49 or the Babalon book, whatever. You can read they're already they are psyching that they got themselves all worked up. My favorite passage of this whole thing, not the spell stuff, but just when he's talking about it, is where he's he banished the weird light with a magical sword. I just want to stage something like that in my house and banish something with a magical sword for my wife to see what she fucking says about it. And I'm not laughing at this stuff. I mean, I'm trying to take it as serious. So, yeah, let's talk about this Babalon working. So he meets up with this chick, Marjorie Cameron. They meet. I should keep it like in here when he's talking about his scribe or his magical partner, he's talking about Hubbard. I think, at least the magical partner is Hubbard. I also think that the scribe thing is Hubbard. But like he used to like, I think he was kind of in love with Hubbard. He was in love with Hubbard. Like, there's this stories about them like fencing, like throughout the whole mansion, like the fucking like the Three Musketeers, like you know, like, why are you smiling? You know, I've gotten you beaten, and he's like, I know something you don't know. Well, what is it? I'm not left-handed. Very good. I'm not left-handed either. Touche. Like, yeah, they had a really weird relationship. So Parsons declared this ritual a success, at least for the first part, because they found their Scarlet Woman, they found their elemental, their Babalon. So they just have to do a second series of it to, you know, bring forth this Moonchild. So I'm going to go back to the book real quick. This is section B. It's entitled Communications. On February 27th, my magical partner went east for a visit, and on February 28th, I went back to the Mojave, invoking Babalon. During this invocation, the presence of the goddess came upon me, and I was commanded to write the following communications. This has been the Book of Babalon. This section is Liber 49. So this is the thing that he was like, you know, the Book of the Law had 3 chapters. This is chapter 4. Like, basically, this is kind of like if there was a Thelemic New Testament, this is what Parsons was trying to do. He was writing himself into the mythology of this older prophet of the age of, or the Aeon of Horus. He probably actually should have waited till the old man passed away before he did this, because I think he got him into a little bit of trouble. Okay, so here we go. Here's Liber 49. It's long. I'm going to blow through it as fast as I can. Here, hold on. Liber 49. Yea, it is I, Babalon. And this is my book. It is the 4th chapter of the Book of the Law. He completing the name, for I am of Nuit by Horus, the incestuous sister of Ra Hor Kuit. It is me, Babalon. Time is, ye fools. Thou hast called me, O accursed and beloved fool. Now know that I, Babalon, will take the flesh and come among men. I will come as plenteous flame, as a devious song, a trumpet in judgment's halls, a banner before armies, and gather my children unto me, for the time is at hand. And this is the way of my incarnation. Heed, thou shalt offer all thou art, and all thou hast at my altar, withholding nothing, and thou hast been smitten full sore, and thereafter shall be outcast and accursed, a lonely wanderer in abominable places. Ye dare, I have asked of none other, nor have they asked, else is vain. But thou hast willed it. Know then that thus I came to thee before. Oh man! Know then that thus I came to thee before, thou a great lord, and I made entrapped, blind folly, and therefore madness all in vain. Thus has been multiform. How thou hast burned beyond. I shall come again in the form thou knowest. Now it shall be thy blood. The altar is all right in the robe. The perfume is sandal, and the cloth green and gold. There is my cup, our book, and thy dagger. There is a flame. The sigil of devotion be consecrated. Be it true. Be it daily affirmed. I am not scorned. Thy love is to me. Procure a disc of copper in diameter 3 inches. paint thereon a field of blue and a star gold of me, Babalon. It shall be my talisman. Consecrate with the supreme ritual of the word and the cup. My calls, as thou knowest, all love songs are of me. Also seek in me the seventh air. This for a time appointed, seek not the end. I shall instruct thee in my way, but be true. Would it be hard if were thy lover and before thee? But I am thy lover, and I'm with thee. I shall provide a vessel. When or whence, I say not. Seek her not. Call her not. Let her declare. Ask nothing, and keep silent. There shall be ordeals. My vessel must be perfect. This is the way of her perfection. The working is of 9 moons. The Aleister working, with music and feasting, with wine and with all arts of love. Let her be dedicated, consecrated, blood to blood, heart to heart, mind to mind, single in will, none without the circle, all to me. And she shall wander in the witchwood under the night of Pan, and know the mysteries of the goat and the serpent, and of the children that are hidden away. I will provide the place of material basis, thou the tears and the blood. Is it difficult between matter and spirit? For me it is ecstasy, an agony untellable. But I am with thee, I have large strength. Have thou likewise? Thou shalt prepare my book for her instructions. Also thou shalt teach that she may have captains and adepts in her service. Yea, thou shalt take the black pilgrimage, but it will not be thou that returnest. Let her prepare the work according to my voice in her heart, and thy book is a guide, and none other instructing. Let her be in all things wise and sure and excellent, but let her think on this. My way is not the solemn ways, or the reasoned ways, but in the wild, free way of the eagle, in the devious way of the serpent, in the oblique way of the factor unknown and unnumbered. For I am Babalon, and she my daughter, unique, and there shall be no other woman like her. In my name shall she have all power, and all men excel things, and kings, and captains, and the secret ones at her command. The first servants are chosen in secret, and my force in her, a captain, a lawyer, an agitator, a rebel, I shall provide. Call me, my daughter, and I shall come to thee. Thou shalt be full of my force and my fire and my passion, and power shall surround and inspire thee. My voice in thee shall judge nations. None shall resist thee, whom I lovest. Thou that they call the harlot and the whore, shameless, false, evil, these words shall be blood in their mouths and dust thereafter. But my children will know thee, and they will love thee, and this will make them free. All is in my hands, all power, all hope, all future. One came as a man and was weak and failed. One came as a woman and was foolish and failed. But thou art beyond man and woman. My star is in thee, and thou shalt avail. Even now the hour strikes upon the clock of my father, for he prepared a banquet in the bridal bed, and I was the bride, appointed from the beginning. It was written Topan. Now is the hour of birth at hand. Now shall my adept be crucified in the basilisk abode. Thy tears, thy sweat, thy blood, thy semen, thy love, thy faith shall provide. Ah, I shall drain thee like a cup. That is for me, Babalon. Stand thou fast, and I shall pass the first veil to speak with thee. Through the stars shakes, Stand thou fast, and I shall pass the second veil, while God and Jesus be smitten with the sword of Horus. Stand thou fast, and I shall pass the third veil, and the shapes of hell shall be turned against loveliness. For thy sake shall I stride through the flames of hell, through my tongue be bitten through. Let me behold thee naked, lusting after me, calling upon my name. Let me receive all thy manhood within my cup, climax upon climax, joy upon joy. Yea, shall I conquer death and hell together, and the earth is mine. Thou shalt make the black pilgrimage. Yea, it is even I, Babalon, and I shall be free, thou fool. Be thou also free of sentimentality. Am I the village queen, and thou a sophomore? That thou shouldest have thy nose in my buttocks? It is I, Babalon, ye fools, my time is come. And this, my book that my adept prepares, is the book of Babalon. Yea, my adept, the black pilgrimage. Thou shalt be accursed. And this is the nature of the curse. Thou shalt publish the secret matter of the adepts thou knowest, withholding no word of it. In an appendix to this my book, so they shall cry, fool, liar, sot, truckador, betrayer, thou art not glad thou meddled with magic. There is no other way, dear fool. It is the 11th hour. The seal of my brother is upon the earth, and his avatar is before you. There is a threshing of wheat and a trampling of grapes that shall not cease until the truth be knowest unto the least of men. But you who do not accept, you who see beyond, reach out your hands, my children, and reap the world for an hour of your harvest. Gather together in the covens of old, whose number is 11. That is also my number. Gather together in public, in song and dance and festival. Gather together in secret, be naked and shameless, and rejoice in my name. Work your spells by the mode of my book, practicing secretly, inducing the supreme spell. The work of this image, and the potion, and the charm, and the work of the spider, and the snake, and the little ones that go in the dark. This is your work. Who loves not hates, who hates fears. Let them taste fear. This is the way of it. Star, star, burning bright moon. Which moon? You, the secret outcast, the accursed, the despised, even you that gathered privately in the old, in my rites under the moon. You shall feed, you, the free, the wild, the untamed, that walk now alone and forlorn. Behold, my brother cracks the world like a nut for your eating. Yea, my father has made a house for you, and my mother has prepared a bridal bed. My brother has confounded your enemies. I am your bride appointed. Come ye to the nuptials, come ye now. My joy is the joy of eternity, and my laughter is the drunken laughter of a harlot in the house of ecstasy. All you love is sacred. Pledge them all to me. Set my star upon your banners, and go forward in joy and victory. None shall deny you, and none shall stand before you, because the sword of my brother invoke me. Call upon me. Call me in your convocations and rituals. Call me in the loves and the battles in my name. Babalon, where is all power given? So at least the first part of this Babalon working worked. They said it was a success. They thought Marjorie was Babalon incarnate. that they had summoned this woman. So the next stage was an attempt to conceive a child through sex magic workings. So here, let me just read real quick what this whole sex magic thing gets mixed up and convoluted for me. So I decided to consult Wikipedia. Sex magic, sometimes spelled sex magic with a K, is any type of sexual activity used in magical, ritualistic, or otherwise religious and spiritual pursuits. One practice of sex magic is to use the energy of sexual arousal or orgasm with visualization of a desired result. A premise of sex magic is the concept that sexual energy is a potent force that can be harnessed to transcend one's normal perceived reality. So that makes sex sound a lot like a drug. If I scroll down a little bit to the Ordo Templi Orientis section, Carl Kellner, who is the founder of the OTO, claimed, okay, so he founded the OTO, then Crowley just reorganized. Okay, so the founder of the OTO claimed to have learned techniques of sex magic from 3 adepts in this art beginning in 1904. Reference to these secrets, Kellner and the OTO began appearing in obscure German Masonic periodicals, Orlaflamme. Probably something about flames. I don't know. I don't speak German. Like, I can ask where the bathroom is. I could cuss someone out pretty good in German. That's about it. I watched a lot of Germans drink their own urine. That's another thing that I could do in German. In 1912, the editors of Orlaflamme announced, "Our order possesses the key which opens up all Masonic and Hermetic secrets, namely the teachings of sexual magic and the teachings explain, without exception, the secrets of Freemasonry and all systems of religion." Now, I know a ton of Freemasons. Like, I know one that actually got drunk and showed me their secret handshake. So I can tell you right now, I don't think the secrets of sex magic, I don't think the Masons are the custodians of the secrets of sex magic. I mean, they don't let chicks in. So maybe they're only talking about the 11th degree of sex magic. Maybe. I don't know. So here, let me get into this. Aleister Crowley became involved. Oh, God. This episode's going to be long as fuck. Haha. You see what I did there? Aleister Crowley became involved with Theodore Roos and the Ordo Templi Orientis following the publication of the Book of Lies between 1911 and 1913. According to Crowley's account, Roos approached him and accused him of having revealed the innermost sexual secrets of the OTO in one of the cryptic chapters of his book. When it became clear to Roos that Crowley had done so unintentionally, he initiated Kraus into the 9th degree of OTO and appointed him Sovereign Grand Master General of Ireland, Iona, and all of the Britons. While the OTO included from its inception the teaching of sex magic in the highest degrees of the order, when Crowley became the head of the order, he expanded on these teachings and associated them with different degrees as follows. All right, here we go. If you have kids in the room, okay, degree 7, 5, 6, 7, 8. Degree 8 is masturbatory or autosexual. Magical techniques were taught, referred to as the lesser work of Saul. 9th degree is heterosexual. Magical techniques were taught. The 11th degree was anal intercourse. Magical techniques were taught. Professor Hugh Urban, the professor of comparative religions at Ohio State University, noted Crowley's emphasis on sex as, quote, the supreme magical power, unquote, according to Crowley. The Book of the Law solves the sexual problems completely. Each individual has an absolute right to satisfy his sexual instinct and is physiologically proper for him. The one injunction is to treat such acts as sacraments. All right, so you're like, what does that mean as sacraments? So he clears it up pretty good right here. One should not eat as brutes, but in order to enable one to do... Okay, hold on. But in order to enable one to do one's will... The same applies to sex, when we must use every faculty to further one's object of our existence. So he's saying, like, brutes eat with their hands. It's just like George Costanza in this Snickers bar or donut or whatever it is. How do you eat it? With your hands? Like, he's been enlightened. Costanza's been enlightened. He understands that you no longer need to eat a candy bar with your hands. You can do so with a fork and a knife. So he does so as a sacrament, not as we're going to see in a little bit. I think we're going to work it in. Where they Babalon warns the boys, beware of the use of profaned rituals. So in this example, Costanza now understands that he can use a knife and a fork to eat his Snickers bar. So to go backwards and eat it with his hands would be to use a profane ritual instead of using it to further one object of our existence. So I guess it gets muddy for me here, I think. All right, I'm just going to move on because I'm feeling like I'm kind of... like, my great superpower is I don't overthink myself, but I think I'm starting to get there because I'm like, well, I don't know, because I like... okay, hold on. Shit, I just need to... I'm going to take a break and fucking focus everything. So, as I'm trying to get my shit together, I'm looking at this, the rest of this Wikipedia page where I was just reading about sex magic. Like, I couldn't focus because I'm wrapped up in the sex magic idea all of a sudden. Not all of a sudden, you know what I'm talking about. But I see writings on sex magic. Main articles, works of Aleister Crowley and the Libre of Aleister Crowley. However, like the 6 or 7 things in, maybe 7 or 8 things in, is this thing called, it's in the Book of Lies. I've never read the Book of Lies, and I need to pick it up now because it says the Book of Lies, which is a book from Aleister Crowley. It says includes some techniques in symbolic language, including extended mutual oral sex, parenthesis, in chapter 69, unparenthesis, while intoxicated on hashish. And I'm like, Crowley had a sense of humor. He had a sense of humor. So I just realized, like, while I took that last break, that I'm gonna have to bust this up into 2 pieces. I still have a lot, like, I still have a ton to get through, and I don't want to take it away. I don't want to take stuff out of it to make it shorter to fit into this. So I'll do it the same way I do it, like Netflix style. Like, I'll do another episode and I'll drop it at the same time. I'll drop them both on Sunday or whatever, so you can, like, just blow through them or whatever. But yeah, I'm gonna have to do two episodes. Part 2 might be a little bit on the light side. I'm not sure. We'll get into it. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Me and you guys, we'll figure it out. So, I have some shit that I need to say real quick. Support the show. Best ways to support the show are if you would just to do rate and review the show on iTunes. That helps us find folks. And if you look at, like, the people who subscribe to my show and the people who they subscribe to, I'm in some good fucking company. But let's go. Let's get on it, everybody. It needs to be everybody. Like, 10%. Okay. 2% of everyone's personal mission next week should be like to turn this show on to a friend or something of yours. Let's get into it. Then tell me what you did or whatever. I'll give you some shout outs. Hell, I might even send you some fucking artwork. Like, right to your, like, some original artwork. I'm not talking about some scans or whatever. Like, come on, man. Let's get fucking into this. I spent a lot of time reading through Liber 49. Come on. You buy some comic books if you're able to. From time to time, I try to give away comics to you guys. You know, I mean, if you're not able to purchase them, I try to like send some digital copies out. So, I mean, keep your ear out for that.
Vienna, 1683. Today is September 11th, 1683. The mighty army of the Ottoman Empire, led by the savage and radical terror troops of the Dar al-Harb, surround the walled city of Vienna and begin a siege to break the golden apple of Europe and kill, enslave, or convert all of its inhabitants. The valiant citizens stand against the tyrannical army with the steadfast leadership of Count Ernst Rudiger von Stromberg, the help of the ever-living rebel, Cyrus, the Dead Guy, and the hopes of the faraway King Jan Sobieski III and his army of flying hussars. The Vienna 1683 comic is available right now from Stigmata Studios at stigmatastudios.com and on indieplanet.us. The Non-Standard Squad, 1944. World War II. 3 weird American soldiers are on a search and rescue mission into the oldest and darkest regions of Europe. A cursed, ever-living warrior, Cyrus the Dead Guy. An experimental warbot, Sergeant Lane McCord. An all-red axe, mysterious rogue with a demon-possessed arm, come face to face with an army of magically corrupted, machine-obsessed elves, a magic hammer-wielding Norse Ubermensch, and a Nazi wizard who is a member of the ancient Dark Order of the Shining Hexagon. The Non-Standard Squad 1944 comic is available right now from Stigmata Studios at stigmatastudios.com and on indieplanet.us.
And also, just pass the word along. That's a great way to do it. You go to stigmatastudios.com to find everything that's going on with me. I'm updating, I think, like once a month now with like the Rise of the Beast project that's coming out. So there's that. Find me on Twitter. Find me on I'm trying to do some more Instagram stuff, so find me on Instagram, and Facebook, of course, is Stigmata Studios. You go to the Abercast as a fan page where I try to like upload some videos and stuff that are relevant to the topics, but I don't see a whole lot of people using it, so I kind of don't do it. So it's like the Ouroboros, everybody. If I see you start using it, I'll probably start paying more attention to it. I know that's shitty. It's a bad model. I don't know, but I'm trying to crank out 30 fucking pages of comic books by myself a month. And I mean, fuck, it's like all I could do. For weeks now, I've been doing these gigantic, huge episodes because I get all wrapped up into it and everything. Like, look, okay, hold on. I'm not trying to get into the 8th degree of the OTO with everybody, if you understand what I'm saying. But I'm also not trying to get in the 11th degree either. So, you guys, I love you. Thank you guys so much for hanging in here with me and listen to this stuff. And all I want to do is just entertain everybody, try to get, through your weeks or whatever is going on with you. Jesus. I got to stop doing this on a Thursday. Oh, the last thing is society-13.com. Check out those. If you're like, fuck, he's ending. It's only been like an hour and 4 minutes. I don't know what I'm going to do with the rest of my day. Go to Society-13, find Queens of NC-17, find Prog Watch with the Prog Squatch, find the Kettle Whistle Radio, find the Lift, find the Wicked Library, find whatever, find History Goes Bump, find the Caveman Mafia. We got a ton of stuff on there. And tonight, to play us out, since we're doing a Thelema episode, I got the Awesome Bros from Aeon of Horus to let me play another one of their songs. So this song from the Aeon of Horus is called Hoorah Raha. Thank you guys. And I'll see you probably in like just a few minutes once this is over on the next download, because we're going to be finishing the Babalon working. Well, I guess it's over. Thanks everybody for tuning in. I'll see you in the next download, which is like 2 minutes from now. If you're fast. If you're slow, it's 2 minutes. I mean, it's like right around the corner. All right. Thanks, everybody. I love you.